Hey guys, we need to talk about Shane Dawson because he just popped up on the Bang It Out podcast and he was openly talking about his cancellation. And honestly, a lot of people weren't expecting him to do this at all. The fact that he sat down with Kayla Malik and Jacob Storius felt super random to viewers, like, why this podcast and why now? This is Ava Sinclair for CelebPulse. Quick note before we jump in. We're only discussing what's been said publicly and what's on record. And if something is opinion or speculation, we'll label it clearly. Now let's get into it. So here's what happened. Kayla Malik and Jacob Storius recently had Shane Dawson on their podcast in an episode titled Shane Dawson on Cancel Culture Conspiracies and OG YouTube. And on the surface, this crossover looked completely out of nowhere. Like, if you saw the thumbnail or title without context, you'd probably assume it was just a wild surprise guest situation. But there is a reason this connection happened. Shane has been working with Jacob recently because Jacob is involved in a project Shane is trying to get off the ground, an hour-long pilot Shane wrote and directed. Jacob actually starred in it. Shane shared this on Instagram last month when the pilot wrapped and Jacob was included in the big group wrap photo. Shane wrote something along the lines of, "That's a wrap. I'm grateful for everyone who worked on this pilot. It's about an A-list actress who gets canceled the night before the Oscars and a struggling director who's about to give up and move back home. They meet on the worst day of their lives and realize maybe everything happens for a reason. I wrote and directed this hour-long pilot hoping a streamer sees the heart in it and gives us a chance at a full season. I'm proud of it, grateful, and I have faith we'll be back on set soon to make the rest of the season." So that's the background, and it explains why Shane and Jacob were in the same orbit. But here's where the internet reaction kicked in. People were confused because Kayla and Jacob have recently been very harsh about James Charles. So viewers were like, how are you going from that energy to sitting down with Shane Dawson? And based on some of the questions they asked, a lot of people got the impression that Kayla and Jacob might not fully understand what Shane was originally canceled for, or at least they didn't know the details. Because in the episode, they asked him questions that came across like they knew he was canceled, but they didn't seem locked into what the cancellation was actually about. At one point, they basically asked him, "You've had your experience with cancel culture, right? When I saw the word canceled and your name, I was like, okay, I've seen this. So how many times have you been canceled? I hear it sounds like a lot. Was it little things stacking up?" And Shane responded that the big one in 2020 was like the compilation, if you will, of everything. Now, while this was happening, the comment section immediately became the battlefield, because some people were calling out Kayla and Jacob for who they platform and who they don't. One person said something like, "I'm trying to hear you out, but I'm confused about who you choose to support and who you don't." And someone else replied with the idea that it's common for people to not feel as strongly about something if they don't have personal experience with it. Plus, some people brought religion into it, like, who are you to judge? Let the person without sin cast the first stone. And then a lot of people were connecting it back to Kayla's history, because some commenters claimed Kayla still communicated with James Charles when the accusations around him were everywhere. But once she had a personal experience involving James and her ex Evan, that's when she was done and joined the crowd against him. So the question some people were asking was basically, does someone only become canceled to you once it personally affects you? That's what a lot of viewers were debating. But to be fair, there were also people defending Shane in the comments. Some said things like, Shane has taken accountability, got educated, went to therapy, and he has 2 beautiful babies now. Let him grow. Others were like, please let people grow. When I was younger, I said and did wild things. I was uneducated. If I had a platform back then, I would have been canceled too. But I grew up, had a kid, educated myself, and I'm not that person anymore. If you can have empathy for yourself, why not have it for content creators too? They're humans. Humans mess up. Let the man grow. So yes, there were defenders. But from what you could see overall, a lot of the comments still found the whole thing strange. Many viewers clearly remembered why Shane was canceled, and they were shocked to see everyone sitting down together like it was no big deal. Now, rewind to July 2020. This is when Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star really hit a wall publicly. Over the years, Shane had done multiple apology videos addressing parts of his past content, but in 2020, after he rose to a new level of mainstream visibility with Jeffree Star and their conspiracy palette, There was a wave of viewers, people who didn't know the full history, who were suddenly exposed to resurfaced clips from old content. And a lot of those viewers felt like they couldn't move past it. Shane stayed out of the public eye for a long time after that. Eventually, he started making small appearances in his husband Ryland's content, and later he returned to making his own content again. Now he's back in full swing. He has a podcast, he posts conspiracy-style videos, and he's working on this pilot Jacob is starring in. And during this podcast conversation, when Shane talked about the cancellation, he didn't frame it like he was furious at the world. He described it more like he was completely consumed by content and work, and the cancellation basically forced a break he couldn't give himself. He said something like, "My thoughts on cancel culture. 2020 was a weird experience because it got to the point where I felt like something was coming, but I didn't know what. And I was out of my mind, working 24 hours a day, editing constantly, doing too much. I wasn't in a great place in my relationship because I was so focused on work and wasn't spending quality time. I was stressed and unhappy. I kept thinking I should take a break, but I couldn't. Taking a break felt scary. And then the universe was like, gotcha, and it did it for me." He also said it took time to get to that mindset because stepping away made him realize who around him was only there for their own benefit. Like the people who constantly wanted something from him, videos, photos, appearances, because of what he could do for them, not because they actually wanted to be his friend. He basically explained, "I didn't find the purpose for a while. It was hard. But years later, I look back and I'm like, I was missing my life. Even before I got canceled, I was doing the makeup series, which I loved and don't regret, but it consumed my life. Everybody wanted something, and I was too scared to say no. Then after you get canceled, you realize it all goes away. It's like, wow, it's kind of nice to not have to go somewhere knowing they don't actually like me." Then he went into the part that a lot of people were watching closely. He said he's aware of what he did, he understands why he was canceled, and he's not doubling down like he did nothing wrong. He said he's done multiple apologies, and he's not angry about the cancellation, even though it was hard. He explained it like, "I'm aware of the jokes I made. I'm not someone doubling down. I get why I was canceled. I'm not angry about it. It was hard, but I understood why it was happening. I made an apology video because I felt bad, and then I got canceled after the apology. It was interesting how it went down. More people were watching my stuff. They didn't know about the old sketches and videos, and then they went back, saw it all, got upset. I understood it. I wasn't like, what? I was literally like, I'm just gonna go away and never make anything again." He also said his plan at the time was genuinely to stay hidden and not return. But eventually, he felt an urge to create again, and once he did, he remembered why he loved it. He gave an example of what pulled him back. He was with his sister-in-law. She mentioned a haunted bridge in her neighborhood, and he was like, "I want to film that." He said it was random, but they had fun, and editing it reminded him of why he liked making content in the first place. Then the conversation got darker, because he talked about how bad things felt at the time, and how there was even a rumor going around that he had died. Like, people were literally telling others Shane Dawson was dead. And he said hearing that was a moment where he realized some people wouldn't be satisfied until he was actually gone. He described it like, "I was getting texts from family. Someone was like, 'Yeah, people think you're dead.' I wasn't angry. I was more like, 'What is the purpose of this? You're mad at me. I regret what I did. I apologized. But you're not going to be happy until I die? Is that what this is?' And he said he tried explaining that to his therapist, like he didn't even know how to process it, and his therapist basically told him that's not something anyone processes normally. Now, fast forward to what's happening right now. They talked more about the pilot Shane shot with Jacob. Jacob sounded hopeful, and Shane said they're hoping to finish the edit by March, then start pitching it to streaming platforms, and they both seem genuinely excited about it. But like I said earlier, the comments under this episode kept circling back to the dynamic of all of this. People were still confused about how Kayla and Jacob could come down so hard on James Charles, but sit down with Shane Dawson like this. And commenters were actively reminding them what Shane was canceled for, bringing up old videos, resurfaced moments, and the wider criticism. Some people also pointed out Kayla's friendships and connections, like the fact that Kayla is friends with Tana, and Tana has publicly called Shane out before. for content they filmed together when she was younger and how weird some of it felt in hindsight. So the comment section became this huge mix of accountability debates, growth debates, and why platform him arguments. So now I want to throw it to you. What do you think about this entire situation? Does Shane coming on this podcast feel like a calculated move or just a natural crossover because of the pilot? And how do you feel about Kayla and Jacob getting criticized for who they choose to sit with? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This is Ava Sinclair for CelebPulse. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.